The Morrigan and Magpie Symbolism. Everyone who works with the Morrigan, and probably many people who don't work with the Morrigan, know that she is associated with Corvids in general, but usually appears in the form of a crow. And she has indeed appeared to me in the form of a crow, amongst other things. Ravens are also a form that she regularly appears in to people also. But what about the magpie? Many that are devoted to her are often inspired to get a tattoo in either the crow or raven image. So this type of tattooing is pretty common with the Morrigan devotees, and when I was inspired by the Morrigan to get a tattoo, it was actually the magpie image that I went with. So when the Morrigan inspires someone to do something like get a tattoo that is representative of your devotion to her, she can be pretty insistent and quite particular about what image is chosen. It's like you choose the image together. So why did she not only help me choose, but also approve of having this magpie image instead of a crow or a raven? Well, since magpies apparently didn't appear in Ireland until the 17th century, or so I believe, it's not surprising that they are not intrinsically linked to the Morrigan. So what happens when a devotee or even a priest of the Morrigan is not inspired really to be linked with crows or ravens, but instead directly to magpies? So I have noted a few people asking this sort of question in related groups, but no one seems to have a concrete answer as to why some devotees are inspired to be linked more with magpies than others. So I myself don't have any concrete answers to that question either, but I can certainly offer some suggestions as to why this might be. So firstly, I've always had an affinity with magpies even before I was working with the Morrigan. So the magpie is my primary spirit animal. So I've done a previous video on my personal relationship to the magpie as a spirit animal, but this video is more focused on how that ties in with the Morrigan. So having a pre-established closer relationship to another type of corvid rather than a crow or a raven, that may be one reason, because you already have a relationship with a particular type of corvid. Another reason that I've often pondered on is that maybe she views those she considers to be magpie people as different in some way. Not necessarily in a bad or a good way, but simply different from crow or raven people. So crows and ravens are symbolic of magic and witchcraft, as are magpies. And crows and ravens are symbolic of death in particular, but not so much magpies. If I was to think of a bird associated with death, crow or raven would definitely be first in line. And I personally wouldn't put magpie in that category, even though magpies do eat carrion, and they eat the same sort of food and small mammals, and they prey on other small birds and their young and their eggs. But I still wouldn't put magpie in a symbolical category on par with crow or raven for symbolising death. So what clear association does the magpie hold in relation to the Morrigan? Well, the magpie is certainly associated with the other world or the realm of the Fae, and also associated with the in-between. So a liminal bird for sure. Magic and witchcraft associations, definitely. So magpies are also said to hold the soul of a fairy. Now, this is of most interest to me because as a shamanic practitioner, I am perfectly aware that my soul has roots in other dimensions, and the other world is one of those other places that I am aware that another part of myself or another part of my own soul resides. I've already done a video on this titled what is interdimensional living and what are interdimensional beings, an example. So feel free to check that out. So the part of myself that resides in the other world is known as the Red Lady, and the Red Lady has a strong connection to the Morrigan. So besides my working with the Morrigan and my contract to her, I also have other contracts to fulfill. So one thing that I am required to do is to promote interdimensional awareness and interdimensional living. That part of my contract is being fulfilled through my YouTube videos, my blog, and my Facebook page and my Facebook group. So I am basically promoting awareness of otherworldly beings and promoting contact with those beings. Now, some may call them extraterrestrial, but I prefer the term interdimensional because I feel it describes them much more accurately. So maybe this is the difference of the magpie symbolism that Morrigan has associated with me. Another point that I need to touch on here, and this is the controversial part, and it is controversial solely because those who would strongly disagree with what I'm about to say next are those who only study the Morrigan from the standpoint of the Irish law, and I don't. The Morrigan has clearly given me a different role to fulfill here other than repeating the Irish law in a parrot fashion, because she has trained me to think outside that box. So she has given me this role because I'm not afraid to talk about this, and I'm not afraid to make videos about this, and I don't give a shit if anyone disagrees with me about this either. So I'll continue to do these videos because I guess you just can't shut a magpie or a Welsh woman up for that matter. So anyway, during my channeling sessions with the Morrigan, she has revealed to me that she was actively operating during the times of Atlantis in the form of a priestess queen named Faith, and that it was there she was known as the Great Queen Faith. And that's where her original title of the Great Queen came from. That is what she has told me. So at some point in the distant past, Atlantis was the interdimensional hub of this planet, and the Morrigan, who wasn't even known as the Morrigan then, but was incarnate in a singular form at that time. Now, this is the aspect of the Morrigan that I am linked to the most, and the aspect that I am contracted to. So there is a clear difference here between my work with the Morrigan and the work that others appear to be doing. So this, is this the reason for the Magpie Association instead of the Crow or the Raven Association, along with my soul link via the Red Lady to the other world? Maybe. So this leads me to another point that I need to address, and that is the question of, do you consider the Fae to be extraterrestrial? Or, in my words more appropriately, do you consider them to be interdimensional? Are the Fae folk aliens, basically? These questions will most certainly take me into the realms of another video. So I'll put that one on ice. So to conclude, from my perspective, devotees, dedicants and serving priests of the Morrigan who primarily identify with magpies instead of crows or ravens are definitely different in some way. So taking myself as an example, I am certainly controversial in my work with the Morrigan, and I am also outspoken about that work. And magpies are known to be very noisy birds indeed. And magpies also don't care if they disturb the peace. So the Morrigan herself does encourage me to make these videos. Otherwise, I really wouldn't bother, because what would be the point? So it is the Morrigan herself that wishes people to know and to learn about her role as a priestess queen in Atlantis. She wants people to know, and she encourages her dedicants to ask her about this in their personal practice. So go ahead, ask her. So if you want to know more about my work with the Morrigan, then do check out my other videos in my Morrigan series, and also my other videos in my interdimensional series, if you're interested in that. Feel free to subscribe, give this video a like and hit the bell for notifications. Thanks for listening.